Welcome in. It's an SDH live here on YouTube, on X, on Twitch, on Facebook. Jason Longshore, Madison Cruz. It's been a busy day on the SDH side of things as we have written quite a bit. We have talked quite a bit, and now Atlanta United has two new central midfielders that started the day and the fifth head coach in club history in Ronnie Dyla. Not I don't know. It's one of those things, Maddie. Like Will Riley signing a homegrown deal when he wasn't on the draft eligible list. I thought maybe this was coming. We'll talk about that. I don't want to leave that out of the conversation because maybe it's the one that has gotten the least amount of attention. Mateusz Klick, the report started late last night out of Washington, D.C. Stephen Goff reported on this initially that he was headed to Atlanta. We've gotten more terms of the deal and have a better understanding of the whole picture of everything. That was the second move announced, and that's an important one, too. We'll talk about that. And then they weren't done, and Ronnie Dyla is announced as the new manager for Atlanta United. So lots of different things to jump into. We've had some thoughts already at soccerdownhere.net. Hopefully you've checked those out. Jarrett Smith is working on an article as he knows Ronnie Dyla very well from his time at Celtic. And I think he can give a very unique perspective to Ronnie Dyla as a head coach. Excited to see that. That will post later on soccerdownhere.net. Hopefully, Jarrett will be able to pop in and chat a little bit about it here with us, as well as some of the rest of the SDH crew. But let's start things off. I talked about it with Mike Conti already. That's posted on an Atlanta Soccer Tonight special over at 92.9 The Game. What were your initial impressions, Maddie, of Ronnie Dyla as he spoke to the media earlier today?
Oh, I mean, first of all, just whirlwind of everything I thought. I thought I was waking up on a Friday, a couple days before Christmas. We're hanging out, everything's fine, and then all of a sudden it's like big news drop, and I said, "Oh well, okay, here we are." But I really like the signing. I really do. I mean, I feel like we've kind of it was been rumored. There had been like thoughts about it. Obviously, we knew he was an option coming into it. There had been rumors picking around of when available, when he's not available. So I think having it confirmed, I really like the signing. Just talking to him with the media today, the passion that he's already having and showing is already there. I feel like you can already guess that from his time in any club that he's at. The one thing that I really liked that stuck out to me at least was when he said he was talking about Atlanta and coming here and he wants to do good things, but he said something that I really like. He said, I want to prove to Atlanta that I can be here and I can do this. And I really like that because, a lot of times I feel like you get coaches who come in and it's very much like, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Dyla already has this interpretation of I need to come in and I need to prove to not only Atlanta, but to the fans, to everyone here, what I can do for the club. And it's not I'm coming in and it's going to be fixed. It's a collective and we're all going to come in and we're all going to come together and we're going to do this. I really like what he had to say to the media. I really like what he stands for, what he's going to be implementing here at Atlanta. I'm excited. I'm like 2025 can't come sooner. I'm very, very excited.
When names started to be thrown around a little bit about who could be the next manager for Atlanta United, I don't think Ronnie's name was front of mind for a lot of people. He was working in the United Arab Emirates at the time. I don't know the timeline in terms of conversations and on the record conversations and off the record conversations and interviews. I don't know those timelines. That's not my job. But his name really wasn't thrown around a lot. I think from a national perspective of how this job opening was talked about, Patrick Vieira was really the main name that was thrown around. And then Jim Curtin was pushed forward by the national media as the obvious choice. I don't really think either one were that obvious of choices. I think Vieira is somebody who commands a lot of respect. I think he did very well with New York City during his time there. I don't know if you could say that about some of the other stops he's been at. And frankly, Ronnie Dyla did better at New York City during the time he was there than Patrick Vieira did. One has a trophy and one doesn't. I mean, and that's just those are facts. So it's this interesting situation. look, Airborne DJ, I'll go ahead and post that real quick. There's a lot of reports that maybe are not truly accurate, as we saw with some of the Jim Curtin things, about what was real and what wasn't real. So be careful just with what people are saying and how much they know and how much they don't know. I don't know. One conversation that came up kind of about the UAE job that Ronnie Dyla was in before, and hold on, let me come back to that. Let me clarify one thing because I know it's created some confusion. We were talking about it before we started. If you listen to the interview or the clip of Ronnie speaking to Atlanta United's social media account, I think it's like a 15-second video. Um, he says Dyla. And I know that over his time, I think in New York City, there was a little bit of back and forth on Dayla, Dyla. I know on the press conference today, there was a little bit of that. He says Dyla. That is what we are going with, and we will do our best to be consistent with it to not create any confusion. So if we slip up, bear with us as we all get used to it. It is a little more subtle, I think, but Ronnie Dyla. Um, his stint in the UAE, his stint in Belgium with two different clubs after leaving New York City. That's somewhat of the nature of the job at this point, and I think certain leagues are even more come and go, come and go, come and go. He was asked about his intentions to be here long term, and he said all the right things, and he should, and I think he wants to. But also, I think there's 4 managers in Major League Soccer that have been at their club for longer than 2 seasons right now. So, like, that's also the nature of it. I think he has the potential to be here for a while. I think he's got the personality. I think he's got the character, and I think all of those things should fit together for that to come into the fore. I'm excited about that possibility, just like you are.
Yeah. And, I mean, we've even talked about it, I think even at the brew house earlier this week. Like, a lot of people talk about MLS and say how it's pretty easy to kind of stick around, but I'm like, you mentioned it. I mean, the longest running, I mean, Jim Curtin obviously is one to look at, a couple of others too, but I mean,
Peter Vermes
this is only the
is
last like,
one. Oscar Pereja is another one. Brian Schmetzer is another one, and that's about it.
yeah,
It's a lot of managers have come and gone in this league, and I hope that's not the case here. But if it is,
yeah.
look, that's just kind of the nature.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I'm like, it is competitive league, and it's very competitive, and especially as the years have gone on, implementing some of like the new clubs, a lot of that recent success, you're now getting to a level where it's like you're expecting things to now be happening, and that that's what it is. And I'm really really excited to see what is going to go down here. I just love the way that he spoke. I think about coming to Atlanta and just kind of interacting with the players. I really enjoyed what he had to say just about getting the players involved. I actually wrote it
Yeah,
down because I wanted to talk about it and I knew for a fact. So I'm pulling out my iPad. We're going to make it work. I'm an
there we go.
iPad kid now, guys.
That's all right.
He said he wants the players to feel safe, loved, and to have fun. Like,
Mhm.
you want to be able to have them come into this space where they feel protected and they feel wanted. They feel like they're being appreciated. And then also too, they enjoy coming to work. And I think that's something that's so important because I feel like you see that like in certain teams, it can be one of those things where, it's like, oh, well, we're losing, we're not doing the best and everything else like that. And I'm going to give huge credit. He credited too. Ronnie credited Rob for establishing what he did with
Yeah,
this squad last season, and as he should,
that's
because
that says a
Rob
lot about his class to mention Rob by name in that moment. Yes.
absolutely. And I think that is so important and especially as a new coach, you come into a situation and you still have a lot of guys from that squad. They're already all connected. They've been through some of the worst moments and some of the biggest highs. You already have that. So now implementing some of these new players with Click, you're obviously going to have 2 DP spots opening up too. That's important. And that's something that I really appreciated Dyla for preaching on and actually giving Rob that mention because I think it's very important to mention Rob and what he did do in the last couple of games here.
I hope Jarrett Smith feels safe and loved coming into this space.
I hope so.
Jarrett, welcome. What was your reaction to somebody that you know pretty well in terms of being a Celtic fan and Ronnie Dylo? What was your reaction to today?
Just optimism, I think, because you went and got a manager who ticks all the boxes that you are looking for, in that he has experience, he has won in multiple places. Um, he's seen, and I think one of the things for me, I don't know if we've talked about it a lot, he's seen good and bad. And I think that's important because it's great to have somebody who is consistently winning in a lot of places. I think it is also important to have someone who has hit resistance at times, and he has. He hit he hit it in Belgium twice, where it wasn't perfect. His time in Glasgow wasn't perfect, and when you have those hard times, I think you as a manager and you as a team, as you can probably attest to about Atlanta this year, you learn a lot about yourself in those hard times, and you can learn a lot about yourself in failure, and you can make yourself better. And so it's great that you have somebody coming in who knows how to win, who has success, but I think also someone who has experienced failure and can bring a different approach to, here's how we're going to address when things don't go perfectly, because they won't go perfectly. Look, we've talked about this before. No one's going to put together an invincible season in MLS. I don't know if it's
Nope.
possible,
It's not.
honestly.
It's absolutely not. Not with the
The
salary
schedules,
cap, not with the roster rules, not with the travel, not with the
yeah.
schedule. Not going to happen.
So you're going to hit, and look, you're going to have a really rough stretch in June. And it's because of the Club World Cup, and that's fine, because I know
Yep.
people were up in arms about it. Look, you got a lot of travel in June.
Look,
That might not go.
it pays off though in a
Yes.
way, because look, I'd rather have the tough time in June than at the
Mm-hmm.
beginning or the end.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed.
Maddie
And
has a point, or she smells something. I'm not sure which.
I hate to interrupt. I know
no,
we're
do it.
I know we're dealing with the super draft right now. Just reported
Do we have breaking news?
77th overall pick to Charlotte. Barzy Blama from Mercer University was drafted by Charlotte FC, so he will be going there. That's pretty cool. Got to call a couple of his games, so that's pretty cool.
That is a local Atlanta developed player from NASA Top Hat, and a local Georgia developed player in college at Mercer. Very explosive player. Probably we'll see him with Crown Legacy if that's where he ends up, fitting in and going there. But yeah, exciting. And there could be more. Atlanta United has some picks. I don't know what's going to happen there, if they get picked or if they get used or not. We'll keep you posted, because it's SDH Live and anything can happen.
I'm watching.
Yeah, that's what we do.
It's just what we do. It's just what we do. We're going to try to work in as many questions and comments from the audience as well. We'll start with Jordan. Now time to sign those 2 DPs. That leads us into the conversation about a designated player that you have added who will not count as a designated player for you because DC was desperate. Matej Klich, who is a designated player on DC's roster. It sounds like essentially he will be on Atlanta United's roster for $300,000 in GAM. It's not a trade. It's a salary contribution. Welcome to MLS. Just smile and nod and move on. He's not a designated player in Atlanta, so you still have 2 open spots. He will be a designated player for DC, even though he's not there, so they only have 2 spots. And he's a player who had double-digit assists for a not great DC United team last year, and he's a player that I think can serve as a very important mentor to Bartosz Ślisz, as they did not overlap during their time with the Polish national team, but I am sure they are very aware of one another, and Atlanta United posted a nice picture of those 2 greeting one another when Atlanta and DC played the season. So quickly, we'll start with you, Jarrett, on Klich joining the group. He's not one of those designated players, but as I said on our Atlanta Soccer Tonight special with Mike Conti, I think he creates a little more flexibility in what you do with one of those designated player signings, because Klich can be a playmaker and create a lot of chances for others.
He can play.
Hold on. We have more breaking news.
Before Jarrett responds, I'll get back to it immediately. 83rd overall pick did go to Atlanta. William Kolvik, a defender from University of Maryland, was drafted to the Five Stripes.
Excellent. We will learn and tell you about him very shortly, but we'll stick on Klich. And Jarrett, go ahead.
He can play a lot of spots in the midfield. He brings a bit of sandpaper to it as well. It's a guy who can also be a mentor. You kind of have filled that the Jeff Larnowitz Memorial veteran gritty midfielder role, which is what you want to have. And especially considering you have so many kids coming through this midfield. Like you have Schleich, you have William Bob, but you have Jay Fortune, you have Will Riley, who signed a homegrown deal today. If there's anybody who's tired right now, it's the admin from Atlanta United. So
Oh yeah, man, they've been busy.
admin is full on Michael Clark Duncan. I'm tired, boss, at the end of the Green Mile.
They have been busy.
You also have, you also have Aiden Torres. As long as he's here, as long as he's staying, you want to have that veteran. And yeah, to Tom's point, it's a great bit of business because you are basically taking one of DC's DPs. They are paying for a DP player to be on your roster. Now, is Click still a DP player? We'll see. We'll see how he fits in. Financially, he is. Is he going to put together DP production? Honestly, I don't know. That midfield's going to be busy, but I always like more competition in the midfield personally because I want them to drive each other. I want them to push each other and make each other better. And he brings some of that. And yeah, I think, like I said, I think he brings some sandpaper to it as well, which there were times last year where I thought you needed it.
Quickly, 2 players drafted by Atlanta United in the Super Draft. Ronan Wynn went with the 53rd pick, University of Denver, originally from Auckland, New Zealand. I think that's the first player Atlanta United has potentially ever had with the first team or the second team from New Zealand. And then William Kolvik, who is originally from Oslo, Norway. So the Norwegian contingent continues to grow at Atlanta United today. He is University of Maryland, as Maddie said, 6'1" defender, both seniors. Wynn was a redshirt senior, 5'10", another defender. So we'll get a little more info on them as we go. Let's keep moving on the chat. Abby saw on the website that all the coaching staff has been taken off on the app, and that is also what Mike Conte and I heard when we were doing our podcast, Atlanta Soccer Tonight special. It's up on Odyssey, up on Off the Woodwork. I know Ronnie Dyla said that he would involve local people in the group, and maybe it's coming from the academy coming up. I don't know. I don't know how that reshuffle will go. But yes, it does appear that a lot of change in the soccer operations, on-field operations with Atlanta United, and we'll see what all that ends up being. I don't know what all of it will be, but yeah, I think all the coaching staff being taken off the app would be an indicator of that. Christopher, what do we expect from Atlanta United stylistically? I hope we'll play more like Columbus or Miami and not be a Rob Valentino sit and counter team. There was some conversation in the chat as well about maybe that wasn't Rob's MO that he wanted, and I would agree with that, having gotten to know him a little bit from a soccer perspective and talking to him with production meetings before games and all of that. I think he was pragmatic, and I told him this in the last interview I did with him. Pragmatic in all the right ways, because pragmatic is taking what you have to work with and making the best of it. I think that's what he ended up doing. But I think we saw glimpses of how he wanted his team to play. And I'll be very curious to see wherever he ends up and the team he has and how he chooses to have them play. I think he did what he had to do here. Jarrett, Dyla's style probably better than us from your time at Celtic. And I know it's evolved, and I'm sure he's also pragmatic in all the right ways in terms of adapting to what he has. From a very big picture standpoint, I think he wants the ball, but I don't think he's married to having an overwhelming amount of it. I think he wants to get forward quickly and get vertical. And I think he wants his team to dominate games with their attack. Is that how you would see it? And what else would you add to that?
No, I think that's how I would see it. He wants the ball. He wants to be aggressive and dangerous with it. But if it's not on, like if the game, he is pragmatic in the sense of he is also going to take what you give him. Because if it means that he needs to go direct, then we're going to go direct. If the game is calling for us to play the way that we want, that he wants to, in terms of building things up, then he's going to take, I think, what the defense, what the other team gives him at times. Because how many times have we seen teams come into MBS during stretches of this club's existence where they come in and, frankly, let's be honest, they don't want to play.
100%.
They have zero interest in actually playing. So you have to get creative in how you deal with that if you are Ronnie Dyla. You want like a 30,000-foot thing, go look at the way his goals have split up. You're going to see activity from the midfield. you're going to see activity from the wingers because while his wingers are very active, he likes to build up from the from the sides. They don't pump in crosses. 2021 New York City, I think, was last or second to last in the league in crosses.
They were last. That came up on our AST special, and the pushback I had on it is I think where you're headed. They do create from wide positions, but it's not always a stereotypical cross.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Like he has a lot of times liked using his overlapping and underlapping fullbacks, getting forward, a lot of combination play, like at the edge of the 18. And sometimes that means the ball's going to find its way towards a dangerous spot in the middle of the box in a natural progression. Sometimes that means you're going to get that cutback on the ground.
Yep.
Doesn't always mean you're going to get that traditional Brooks Lennon overlapping, firing a curling cross to the back post kind of thing.
But here you go back to being pragmatic and in all the right ways. He's got two fullbacks now, and Lennon when he's healthy, and Amador when he's healthy, that are elite in Major League Soccer in crossing and putting the ball into dangerous spots. I think we saw it with Amador, especially in the second half, and Lennon is somebody who's almost double-digit assists back-to-back years. Those things are now in the arsenal for Ronny Deila, and that will be very interesting to see how he utilizes it.
It's one of the other places that I think a guy like Brooks Lennon can be very important for this team is going to be on set pieces, because Ronny Deila has a history of being productive on set pieces. You have a lot of weapons already with this team. You have Stian Gregerson. If we say his name, he will appear, so we got to be a little more quiet.
You got to be careful.
Yeah, we don't want to abuse that power. But you have Brooks Lennon, who is, however people feel about it, one of the better dead ball strikers in this league.
It shouldn't be a conversation. I think we need to stop with worrying about how some narratives go. The numbers back it up. Everything backs it up. And I think you have two of them now. And you add Pedro Amador. Took a lot of set pieces last season, even instead of Brooks as the year went on. You've got some elite ball strikers in terms of delivering set pieces. And you have somebody in Deila who has been very creative in getting guys open in set pieces. So that's going to be another element of, I think, what we see when we talk about how his team will look. Next up on the chat, Parzival said, and Maddie, we could talk a little bit about the schedule, which also came out this week, and all the chaos with Atlanta United. He was banking on a non-midweek Miami game, and it's not midweek, and it's not Saturday night either. It's in the new Sunday night kind of game of the week that Apple is creating, and we're going to learn more about. A big early season matchup with Atlanta and Miami on a Sunday night at the Benz.
I kind of like it. I really do. I like that it's. I like it. I think it's fun, especially with obviously the history that we now share, which is very strange to say, because I don't know if I ever thought that there would be a moment where there would be that rich history, and now obviously it's the rematch of the number 9 seed taking down number 1, and it's the rematch for Inter Miami and Messi and friends to see if they can come in and they can get done with business. And also now they might get a chance to see exactly what this Atlanta team can do. I think it's so interesting when we go back and look at the best of 3 series and just everything that led up to it. And it's Rob having to just kind of be just like this chess master and putting the right pieces where he needed to go and picking out the weaknesses of Inter Miami and able to do it. And I'm really interested to see this season with Inter Miami specifically. Atlanta United set the blueprint of how you take down Inter Miami. And now with their new head coach, who doesn't really have a lot of good experience coaching.
Not a huge track record for Javier Mascherano. One of my favorite all-time players, no question about it. I mean,
the Argentine U20 fans were like, "Oh, he's leaving? Great!
Yeah,
what a day to be alive!"
Argentina's U20s qualified for a World Cup because the tournament got moved from another country to Argentina because they didn't originally qualify for that tournament under Mascherano. As a player, incredible. I mean, I reference it anytime we start talking about this guy. Go read the stories about what he sacrificed in the 2014 World Cup semifinal against the Netherlands. It's intense, okay? Let's just put it that way, about what he sacrificed to help his team get to the penalty shootout. Not many players have sacrificed what he sacrificed to get to that semifinal penalty shootout. But as a manager, look, he's still learning. And he's never coached at the club level. I think with Miami, I'm very unhappy with New England basically giving Miami an open checkbook
Oh
for Leo
Jesus!
Campana, because that was a whole lot they gave up for Campana, who's very good. Who's very good, but also has a little bit of an injury history. And it feels like overspending, and it helps a team that is already very good get who knows what that they're going to add to that roster now with more ammunition. Thank you, New England. Good on you. You weren't going to compete anyway, and now you're helping one of the other teams be really good. Thanks.
Oh Jesus, yeah. I don't know. I like that it's the Sunday game. I like that they picked that one there. I like
Yeah.
that it's at the Benz. I like that you're picking that game too, because that's going to be electric. It's going to be
Yeah.
so fun, and I'm excited. That is the one I think. Looking at the schedule as a whole, that is the one that I kind of have circled as like okay, like let's go, and and also the early
Go on.
Charlotte game.
Yeah, that one's a good one too, and that's kind of pulled out again. I think that you have a lot more time, kickoff times this time around
Yeah,
than before. You do have Fox still in the mix in terms of games being televised, but I think you're seeing a little more diversification in terms of the kickoff times to spread things out a bit. Those early kickoff times are going to be really good to grow the MLS audience in certain parts of the world. Europe, for example, that's going to be in prime time in Europe. So that creates an opportunity. I think you see a decent number of Miami games in that 2:30 window early on Saturdays that will appeal with Leo Messi and quite a few others. The game that I circled is the next to last game of the season, before the October international break, before decision day, at LAFC on a Sunday night, 10:30 kick Eastern time. That could end up being a critical game in playoff pictures in both conferences, and maybe if both teams are where they want to be, maybe in the Supporters Shield race. That could be a really interesting night with some Five Stripes After Dark from Los Angeles. Christopher Abel also talking about Sleesh, or not, sorry, Click in the super draft pick trade. You gave up a first round super draft pick, which you kind of sort of used to sign a homegrown in Will Riley. He still counts as a designated player for a team in the Eastern Conference. I don't know if this was a Garth move or a Chris Henderson move. I think sometimes we try to give credit to one guy and not the other. They all work together. Whoever pulled this off and whoever got DC to agree by waving shiny things with one hand and then writing the deal on the other hand and getting them to actually go along with this, really good move. Whoever pulled it off, and I'm assuming it's a team effort, just amazing work to get a player in Click who I think still has a good bit to give. He is an upgrade in terms of what the team needed in that position, especially after Dax McCarty's retirement. And he's a more attack-minded piece than McCarty was, and any other piece you had in that group. He gives you the flexibility to potentially play Moranchuk wide if you want to, and have Click as a pseudo 10 with his playmaking ability. So very, very interested to see how everything pieces together. Gabriel Schrei watching on the X. What's up, man? Hopefully you're doing well. Chattanooga FC's been making a bunch of moves, so we'll have plenty of Chattanooga stuff to talk about as well. Airborne DJ talking about the open window, and I want to come back to you, Jarrett. The window is open. This is where it gets complicated in MLS, because I think it's technically not open until the end of January. You see signings being announced now. The registration paperwork doesn't get filled out until the window is open, but moves happen. So don't get too hung up on that. That's been pretty typical. I think at times it's been in February where the window has opened in air quotes, but moves are going to happen now. So you don't play an official game until February, 22nd, 23rd. I don't remember off the top of my head. The reason why it's late January is the teams that will play in those early CONCACAF games at the beginning of February, you've got to be able to register those players by then. Before that, preseason, it doesn't really matter. Once a deal is done, it's done, and they can join preseason. They just can't play an official game, which doesn't exist until after that window is open. So just weirdness with calendars and those sorts of things. Let's see if we can scroll through. I did not know this part. Abby says we only have 2 full stadium games as of now at the Benz. I would assume, and she said later the opening game and the Charlotte home game. I would assume that others will open up potentially. I think that's a very possible thing. But also, look, and fans I think have different opinions on this. And actually, sorry, let me go back to Maddie on this. Fans have different opinions on this about, do you want it to be open for everybody, or do you want the experience that you typically have as a season ticket holder with the 45,000 configuration? They feel different. I think the games feel very different between the two. From a business perspective, you want to sell as many tickets as possible, but the experience perspective, I think some fans prefer the 45,000 configuration. I don't think there's a right answer or a wrong answer in it. I
No.
just think you'll figure out how many to do, and I think you'll see more than 2.
The sports management major in me is like, yes, do it, because you get more people in the seats. It allows for people who aren't season ticket holders, any other fans in Atlanta. Hey, I want to come to this game. It's pretty cool. Also, it does open up the room for away fans to come in. I'll tell you, as a fan, as a season ticket holder, from the very beginning, we were founding members, and then we stopped, I think, in 2020, 2021. We were at section 232 when it wasn't open. The section over from us on the right, that was where a lot of the away supporter section was.
Yeah.
So we sat right there. So like for a lot of those games, like I was like an earshot of everyone from the away fans. Personally, I thought it was fun. I really liked it. I loved it. Like I had a couple good conversations as like a fan with a lot of the other away fans. Like I think it's a cool like camaraderie thing. Now that can also lead to, some issues as well, as we all know too. I think it's interesting. I don't think there's a right or wrong in either capacity. I think it's very interesting with like how you manage it. I don't know. But I don't know. I always liked when it was full capacity. I love how loud it gets in there when it is full capacity. And I think as a testament, what we saw obviously with the Atlanta United or Miami game 2, electric. I love it when it's full capacity. I just think it's so cool to see everything, and the roof's open and everything looks so cool. But that's also like the fan in me. I get really excited when that happens because I'm like, oh, this is so cool. That's the geek in me freaking out about it, but I don't know. It's interesting. It's so interesting. I don't know. I feel like you can go different ways with it, especially like not wanting to share the experience, but like not allowing. I think it's more aimed for more like away fans coming in and trying to do that.
That's going to be part of it for sure.
Which makes sense, but I don't know. I love it. I think it's so fun.
I think there's an element of that to it, but I also think, Jarrett, and the ticket industry pretty well as well. I think you want to create a level of scarcity while also maximizing the level of profit. Because look, if you want the team to go out and spend money on players, well, they need to make money to spend money. Arthur Blank is a very generous man, but he's also a businessman, as he should be, and has done very well with that. So I don't think there's a magic number. I think a lot of times it depends on the schedule, and honestly, it depends on how the team is playing, on how many full stadium venue games you do in a season.
It depends. I think you make it what is rare is precious kind of thing.
Yeah.
You want to maximize your revenue when you can. You'll do it, obviously. Like, look, you want to see some numbers. Go look at what the last game against Miami in the playoff was at home, which was hilarious because that game was absolutely just huff and bath salts for 90 minutes. And then you got possibly the greatest thing you could have asked for in that building in the year of 2024. You pick your spots to do this, though. Whether it's the local game, whether it is rivalry with Orlando or Nashville or Charlotte. Charlotte's always going to feel different for me because of the Anton Walk connection. I don't know if it's ever going to have the level of animosity, and I feel like there's always going to be a level of togetherness that comes with that rivalry. But yeah, Messi is obviously one where you open it up. Maybe one of the LA teams. But I think what is rare is precious. You pick your spots. You don't do it all the time, and you make it kind of a fanfare and an adventure when you do it.
Going back and forth with Absinthe a little bit about the visa and green card kind of situation, and I'll explain what I was typing a little bit here, so you'll get both. I don't know what his status is at the moment. He obviously had a work visa when he was working for New York City. Um, he would not have that now, but I don't know like the process of reactivating a work visa, for example. Um, he's not in Atlanta yet. You've got to get that done. I don't know when a contract was signed, but yeah, I would assume like Airborne DJ talked about earlier, they've been talking before his club in the UAE fired him this week. Was that a reaction to talking to another club? Possibly. Was it a reaction to that league just being crazy at times? Yeah, I think that's part of it because managers don't stick around very long in that league. Um, I don't know what his status will be, but I would assume that all will be worked out for him before you get to preseason opening up, which is right around the corner after the holidays. And it looks like we have Saint Nick joining the chat.
Hey, look, it's Christmas time,
That's
baby.
not the Saint Nick that I know.
It's Christmas time, baby.
Oh my
Look,
God.
you guys, you filthy animals wanted presents. You filthy animals wanted all kinds of good things coming to your life. Does Atlanta United not provide?
Nick is also the kind of person who watched Home Alone and looked up immediately on IMDb Angels with Filthy Souls.
100%.
Yes. That is definitely true.
He watched the movie within the movie and went, "Give me that film. Give me an hour and 45 minutes of noir with a Thompson submachine gun."
That's the only way to do it, Jared. That's the only way to do it, you know?
I mean, fair enough. So, Saint Nick, since you have joined and everybody else talked about their reaction to Ronnie Dyla being named the manager of Atlanta United, the fifth full-time manager in club history, what was your reaction to today's news?
It checks a lot of boxes. The typical boxes that anybody starts putting in place anytime they want to start trying to qualify managers for MLS. You hire a big name foreign manager. Well, what are they going to think about MLS travel? Well, Ronnie knows about that. What about the absurd salary cap, backflip gymnastics that you have to go through, with certified legal instructors along the way? Yep, Ronnie knows all about that. Playing on a postage stamp in New York. Yeah, Ronnie knows all about that. So Ronnie knows everything you need to know, and most importantly, he knows how to win. He has a title. You can win overseas, and that's fine and great, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to come here and have that same level of success. Well, Ronnie has had that success here. He's had it overseas. I think that he has just about everything that you want out of a manager. If you were to try to bring someone in, I mean, the profile that you were looking for now under this Sounders-esque regime is going to be very different than the profile that you were probably looking at previously. So, look, I'm all on board with this. I wanted a proven winner. You got it. I wanted somebody who has some hardware to his name. You got it. Someone who understands and is not going to be complaining about salary cap whatnots. You got it. So, Christmas is right on time for Atlanta United. Do I not deliver?
If you had any role in this, yes, you absolutely delivered. And you brought two central midfielders along with you today as well, which is, I know it's easy to get all hung up on Dyla, but you added a guy who had double-digit assists in this league last year on a not-so-great team. And you brought somebody home in Will Riley, who Jarrett will definitely be talking about here in a second, one of our favorites who came through the Atlanta United Academy. But I got to get into a topic that has made its way into the chat and is very interesting. I want to first include this part as we were talking about rivalries and opening up the whole building. And I would totally agree with Abby here that Charlotte has seemed to be a friendly rivalry. I honestly, and I've said this before on content that we've done for the team and on SDH and on 92.9 all over the place. I think part of that is the shared feeling about Anton Walks between the two fan bases. I think that has always made this rivalry feel different than Nashville or Orlando or the other 17 rivalries that Atlanta United has in this league, it seems like. However, Absinthe did throw this into the mix. If the rumors are true that Charlotte is once again going after Miguel Almiron, and if he ends up taking that, the reaction to Charlotte will probably be a little different. Let's go a step further, guys, and we'll start with Jarrett here. Atlanta's got money to spend. Atlanta's got designated player spots open. Atlanta does have to get a number 9, and we put that to the side. I think everybody agrees that one of those designated players is going to be a number 9. If the money is there and makes sense and it would fit into the budget, it sounds like from the amount of money that's being talked about Miguel Almiron leaving Newcastle. Jarrett, if you had the opportunity, and I know in this league you have the conversations about not bidding against teams and all this and that. Look, things happen. Let's not lie. Let's not kid ourselves here. There's backdoor maneuvering going on. If you have the opportunity to sign Miguel Almiron, bring him back to Atlanta, and prevent Charlotte from doing it, would you?
Now, first off, I can't believe you would be questioning my honor and my
Your honor.
dignity that strongly that I would not. Yeah, absolutely, I'm doing it. I'm absolutely going.
I'm like,
And
what?
if I have to pull out a saw, Bugs Bunny style, and cut the legs out of the chair that Charlotte is sitting in, then I'm doing it.
Yes.
Because Miguel is.
Hold on, Saint Nick. I've got a specific question for you.
Miguel Almiron, 30 years old still. He still has legs left in him.
He's still pretty quick.
He is, man. Go back and watch, because Jason, I remember talking to you about this during the Copa America over the summer. There were those games with Paraguay where they kept fouling him because they just couldn't. You can't let him get moving.
And you saw the thing that very rarely happened, but we did see it occasionally during his time here. You saw Angry Mickey come out.
Yeah,
Angry Mickey's a scary man.
It's kind of that thing with you don't know where these cats are from. It was the same thing with Tito Villalba. Always seemed like the nicest, most chipper, happy, peppy person in the world. Brother, let me tell you, and Jason, we've talked about this. If you don't know, I'm going to ask you to go look up where Tito's from, outside of San Lorenzo, out down the road from that stadium. You would not survive in the asylum that boy was raised in.
No.
You would not survive in the asylum that Tata Martino was raised in Rosario.
No.
Where these boys are from, when they decide to turn it on, they turn it on. Not a damn thing you're going to do about it. To answer your question, I would take Miggy in a heartbeat, because you're also, not only is he going to produce for you in the field because he knows the league, he knows the team. It's also it is an insane PR win. And let's be honest, that's part of the conversation.
Oh, yeah, it's got to be. I mean, you have to consider that. You have to do things in the right way to make your team as good as it can be. Saint Nick, which Acme scheme from a Looney Tunes cartoon would you reenact to prevent Charlotte from getting Miguel Almiron and making sure he comes back home to Atlanta?
Oh, it's the Acme rocket. I'm strapping the Acme.
Rocket?
I'm giving the Acme rocket, and I'm going to point it toward Atlanta. And so when Charlotte goes to light it, it just blows up in their face. I mean, that's exactly the one you use. There's nothing else you use outside of anything you put the cork in the rifle like they used to do to Elmer Fudd all the time. You can paint the tunnel on the solid rock wall that the Wile E. Coyote is going to run into. And it's the old rule that Mel Blanc and the whole team put in place over on Looney Tunes. And that is that no one harms the Coyote. The Coyote only hurts himself, right, by being an idiot. That's what I want for Charlotte. I don't want anyone to harm them. I want their own buffoonery to crush them. And so if that means that Miguel, and we talk to their agent, we say, look, you get this thing right to the line, and at the last minute, move to Atlanta. Get everyone super excited, and then let them say something like, oh, this is really going to make Atlanta hurt. And then be like, wait, I'm sorry. Did you just insult my client, Miguel Almiron? How dare you, sir? We're leaving. And oh my goodness. That's what you do. You make that happen, man. That's how you do it.
if it went down like that, I probably would not stop laughing till the teams play in March. It would just
All
be
the
constant.
admin has to do is post the however GIF.
Oh, jeez, yes, that would be it. Absolutely, that would do it. I know in the chat some of the conversation is about the discovery rights aspect of this. I'm not worried about that. I think this is one of those things, and this is why MLS is the way that it is. It's for a business reason. It's so you don't drive up the price between, bringing a player to the league to make the league better. And in some cases, it absolutely fits. In this case, they would not allow Charlotte to hold discovery rights hostage. There would be whatever arbitrator is involved in it. There would be a number that would be set. It would be substantial.
We
It would
just had
be
this
worth
argument
it
with
if that
Marco
gets done.
Royce.
Yes. You're not going to be able to hold discovery rights hostage. There would be a number. It would get done, and it would be very interesting. Maddie, first off, Abby says you need to go look at old Looney Tunes cartoons so you can
I
join
know
into
the
this.
old Looney Tunes cartoons. I watched
Okay.
them when I was younger.
Okay, so we're good on that. So
So
you're
last week. Got it.
Here's the question I
you're
have.
picking up what we're putting
There
down.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Saint Nick.
There were a lot of pink jerseys with Martinez on the back of them whenever that move happened.
Ooh.
Are you going to have a bunch of number 10 Almiron jerseys in blue? That's the question I have. I mean, because here's my thing: keep that same energy. If you want to go spend $120 or $130 on an official MLS kit with that, that was bright pink, did you buy the same for Montreal?
I didn't see any Montreal kits that I think about, honestly.
That's crazy. Okay, so keep the same energy and get yourself, spend that 130 and get yourself a Charlotte kit. That's all I'm saying. If you're gonna do it, I mean, since we have put the 2018 fellas up on some kind of magical Rushmore, keep the same energy. St. Nick's got that energy. You keep that same energy.
Saint Nick throwing coal.
Look, man,
I did not expect it.
No, we got the Krampus on the loose. Snatching up your rotten kids that are out there causing problems, being disrespectful out here to these retail people.
Jesus, what?
This took a turn I was not expecting.
The Krampus is out there ready to snatch these kids up, and then I got Cole that I've been learning from Nolan Ryan just how to nail it. And if you come at St. Nick for this energy, you're gonna get beat up like Robin Ventura did too. So just be ready on that.
St. Nick is chucking coal out at lots of people, I think.
Coal in hands, baby.
Coal in hands. That's a quote. Maddie, if you get a chance to bring back Miguel Almiron, and look, we can go a step further now. Again, I think the two designated player spots that are open, one of them has to be a number 9. I don't think there's really any debate about this. I don't think there's really any confusion about it. You can get all kinds of different number 9s, but you have to get a number 9. You have another spot. I said it on the AST special. I think getting Mateusz Klich gives you the ability, if you so choose, to, one, you can play 3 central midfielders with Klich being the most advanced of him and Sleesh and Fortune, or Muyamba, or maybe Will Riley factoring into that, or somebody else if somebody else comes into the mix. You can play those 3, and you can play Moranchuk on the wing, and you can play Saba on the wing, and you can play your new number 9. That goes back to something that Garth Lagerwey said a while back about potentially using one of those players to be a defensive player. So keep that in mind. It also gives you the potential, if the right deal is not there, to have to go get a designated player in January, because it might not be. It's not easy to sign 2 designated players in one window. There's a lot of flexibility now. If Miguel Almiron is available and you decide that you would like to go get him and then make it work, would you, to prevent him from going to Charlotte?
Yes.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I think you have to. I mean, why not? I mean, you got that powerhouse. You get him back in Atlanta. It's a powerhouse move there. Bringing him in. I know, at least for me, that'd be so fun to see Miguel Almiron back with Atlanta. I'm interested, though. Like, I'm playing devil's advocate here, so like, fair warning. Like, is there a need to? Like, you just got You got Click already, you got Sleesh, you got Fortune, you got Maranchuk right up there at the top at number 10. And we've heard from Garth already that they're building this team around him. Does Miguel Almiron
yeah,
do it?
Henderson said that too. Yeah. Yeah.
Does he fit into that? And I don't know if he does, because the way he plays, it's a little bit different, and he would want to act more as that number 10. And I don't know if Maranchuk can be as effective if you push him out to that side. I think he's more comfortable when he is navigating in the midfield. So I don't really know.
Okay, then I have two questions, and one is to you and one is to Jarrett. So let me start with the Newcastle question for you. I know Miguel has played a few different positions at Newcastle. He played as a 10 here pretty much primarily, and the team was built with that, and he's not a prototypical 10. He was described, one of my favorite descriptions ever, as a flying 8 before he arrived in Atlanta. Could he play wide in your mind in a 4-3-3, for example? Could he play wide on the left or the right in your mind and leave Maranchuk as the 10? Your opinion.
Trying to think back to some of the games that I've seen, because it's been kind of
he's done that some at Newcastle, I know, like, but
he's done it a little bit. You're 100% correct. I'm trying to remember, like, it sucks too, because like he's been kind of in and out of the Newcastle lineup in the past couple of like matches, so it's really hard to kind of pinpoint
lately.
it. Lately it's been rough. I think you could. I think Miguel is a player that can be dynamic enough to push him onto that wing. I'm just interested if that's something he would want to do. That's where you have to look at it. Because, I mean, also my other thing is I'm like, Charlotte had the exact same discussion with Miggy earlier a couple months ago. Where did that fall through?
The one thing that we don't know exactly is how much of a conversation did they have with Almiron or his representation, and how much of the conversation did they have with Newcastle, and did you get far down the road with both? Jarrett, since you know Ronny Deila's style of play a little bit more, can you see Miguel Almiron fitting into Ronny Deila's style of play, either centrally or wide? As Jarrett finds the mute button. He sometimes doesn't find the mute button. That's what's so fascinating about Jarrett Smith. He mutes himself all the time, but then he doesn't always unmute. He just
we also have to consider corporate interference is an option as well. You know, the corporate overlords may be.
I think that could be the case with Jarrett Smith. The corporate overlords have won.
Look, here's the thing with Miggy, right? Is that if you are Garth Lagerwey and you're looking across, and Chris Henderson, and you're looking across the landscape of your neighbors, and you think for a moment that Charlotte is going to be a dangerous team, and you have the opportunity to not only strengthen your squad but weaken them as well, I think you take it. Now, the main issue here, and Christopher here has just nailed the point I was going to make. Thank you. Actually, you'll get a present for that one, Chris, for making such a phenomenal point. No, he doesn't get coal in hands because he made a great point. Defensively, you would have challenges there because you don't, it would be exciting. It'd be a drag race, but at the same time, I don't know necessarily, how that defensively would look on a breakaway with Saba and Almiron.
Good grief.
I mean, that would be like if just go back and what I want to say was the 97 Vikings that had Randy Moss and Chris Carter.
Yes. 98. Yeah. It was the 98 one, the one that the Falcons beat.
Yeah. So the 98. So go back and look at that Vikings team, or go back and look at the greatest show on turf.
Yeah.
With Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt in St. Louis for the Rams. You would have a very similar setup here if you had Saba and Almiron, where the minute Atlanta gets the ball, like Maranchuk gets the ball and just sends it north. That's it. It's wraps. Nobody's catching them in a foot race.
Look at Spain in the last Euro. When you've got Lamine Yamal on one side and you've got Williams on the other side, and they can both fly, you get real dynamic real fast.
Yeah. So to me, that would be something that would be worth exploring. Now, You might have to move a piece or two to make room in that midfield. I think that's worth doing. Or you run like a 4-5-1 or something. But
Yeah, I
I
wonder
mean,
if you could do a box. I wonder if you could do a little bit of like what we've seen with Ruben Amorim at Manchester United, and your wingers are tucked in, so you are kind of a box with wing backs, with 3 center backs. Like there's a lot of ways to skin the cat. There's a
yeah,
lot of different ways to do it.
But I think that Miggy, the Miguel Almiron that you get if you do this move now is vastly different than the Miguel
Yeah,
Almiron that was here before, because
yeah,
he tactically is going to be so far ahead, and that's just by virtue of age and games played.
yeah,
He has seen literally everything thrown at him. He's seen Pep Guardiola all the way down to like Steve Bruce. He's seen everything.
But that's
Uh,
my thing. That's also my thing too, is it's like, I think, and I feel like we kind of fall into this thing too. I think we do it with Joseph Martinez. We do it with a lot of the 2018 players that were here during that historic run for the club. We put them up, like you said, Nick. We kind of put them up on this like
we freeze them
higher
in time.
thing. Exactly. And so with that being said, you mentioned it. Miguel is going to be a different player than he was from 2018 to when he comes back, if he does. So he will play differently. He might still have moments where we see him looking like same Miggy that we've seen before, but he won't be the same. So there might be things that are a little different. And that's something you have to look at when you are trying to bring him back. Does he now fit the mold in what you're trying to do? Because he might not. And that it might just not fit. And that's something that we have to realize if we are going this way and we want to get Miggy, you're not going to get the same Miggy that you got in 2018 that you're going to get now.
Yeah, I think Chris's question is valid. Who do you think's better, 2018 Miggy or 2025 Miggy? I think maybe the more important question would be, and Chris Henderson would probably ultimately be the one to answer this, is does 2025 Miggy make your team better? And I love the pulling the rug out from under Charlotte if that is the way this goes down. I am thoroughly entertained, and I will love it forever, and I will be anxiously awaiting the admin's work on that one because wow, it will be amazing. Just judging from what they did to Charlotte when Atlanta went up there and won late in the season, it will be just absolutely rude on all levels, and it'll be amazing. But is that the right move? And I don't know if it is, and because I don't know the entire list they're looking at, and that's what it comes down to in my question. Ropes asked where would he play? Would it be on the wing? And that's honestly the big part of this is right now you have a team in Brad Gazan starting in goal. I think he would be your opening preseason starter based off what he's done, based off what he did down the stretch. I don't think Josh Cohen has shown enough to displace him yet. We'll see if and when that happens. I don't know. But Brad would be your starter in goal. I think everything's open for competition, and that's a good thing, but there are less competitive spots than others, let's say. Fullback, Brooks Lennon's going to be out for a while. You have Ronald Hernandez back in the mix. There's been talk about Noah Cobb playing right back and seeing what that could look like. Left back, it's Pedro Amador right now. I don't know if you go get an upgrade at left back or if you have Matt Edwards become the backup left back. Ronald can play on the left side. I think you've got a hierarchy there. Center back, we know what that hierarchy is at the moment. I think it's Dion Gregerson. I think it's Derek Williams. I think Luis Abram, who is on the roster, would be the next one. And then it's Efrain Morales and Noah Cobb in that group. I think you feel pretty well established on the back line. This is where I don't know how they're going to shape up. And Dyla and Henderson will sit down with the chalkboard and sit down with the magnets and line it up. You're going to go get a top number 9. I don't think there's any question about that. So you go get a top number 9. Saba's going to start somewhere for you in that group. Okay. The midfield. Moranchuk's going to start somewhere for you in that group. So those two. The magnet is somewhere in the attacking group. Somewhere on the wing, somewhere central for Moranchuk potentially. The 9 is unknown, but it's there. Outside of that, there's a lot of unknown. You have Jay Fortune, who started consistently in the second half of the season. Dax McCarty said he was one of your 3 or 4 best players all season long. Is he a starter for this team in 2025? Bartosz Slisz, brought here to be a starter. Good expenditure to bring him in. I think he played as one of the top guys down the stretch for this team. Thought he really turned the corner and was very good for this group. Is he a starter in 2025? I lean to yes for both of them. You've added Mateusz Klich, who was a starter for DC United every game pretty much for 2 years. He's 34, but is he a starter for this group? Quality-wise, yeah. But if those three start, okay, Tristan Muyumba, who did not start consistently down the stretch, but did in the first half of the year. He's going to want to play. He's going to push his way into more playing time, I would think. Then you've got the whole left wing situation. You have Sean De Silva. You have Luke Brennan, who is going to be pushing harder. I think Brennan, and I've talked to Jared about this, I think Brennan really fits the conversation in terms of a Ronnie Dyla kind of player. All right. That's a lot of guys. There's a lot of uncertainty in terms of where they line up. And then there is that next designated player spot where I think you are right now. Outside of signing a number 9, you are in a position to where do you have to use that designated player spot in January? No, I don't think you have to. I think you want to. Don't think you have to. And I think you're in the position that you kind of want to be here. You're in the position to sign the best player available and then make it fit. And if that's Miguel Almiron, that's going to sell a lot of shirts. That's going to be very exciting for the fan base. And I think he's a very, very good player. I think he's a designated player, worthy player. Is he the right signing? I don't know what the rest of that list looks like. And I don't think it's purely guys who play the exact same position as Almiron that you're comparing it to. And that's what I keep coming back to with that signing. I think it's that other designated player signing is wide open. Is it a left winger? Possibly. Is it a 10? Possibly. Is it a right wing player? Possibly. You could move Saba to the other side. I think Saba can contribute on either wing. Is it a defender? Is it an upgrade from Stian Gregerson or Derek Williams? Possibly. Is it an upgrade at left back? Possibly. Like, I think the other designated player is the best player available for what you're going to spend that makes the team better in 2025. And I don't think it's locked into a position. I really don't.
Well, a 9 is, I think.
The 9 is no question. Absolutely no question.
Right.
That's
There's
one.
no question.
Yes. The other one is the one that's wide open to me.
Right. And, a speedy left-footed winger, you can certainly do worse.
Yeah.
And, there have been times where teams have had weaker strikers. I go back to 2010 Spain, which, was freaking magical. But they were just like, hey, midfielder. Yeah. Congratulations. You're going to be a striker now. Wait, what? Yeah.
2010 Spain with the shell of Fernando Torres that existed at that point. And, Cesc Fabregas becoming a little bit of a 9 by that stage. It can happen. And look, let's go back to Ronnie Dyla's history. Tati Castellanos was a guy who came into that team, and in 2020, he was pretty good, and he had flashes, and he was kind of crazy, and we all liked it. And then in 2021, in the full season with Ronnie Dyla, after 2 full seasons with him, he scored 23 goals, and he made that club a lot of money moving on to Europe. He was not that high-profile, big expenditure number 9 that Atlanta United has the ability to go get right now. He was not that at that time, and they made him into that.
Well, let's cover one thing here as well. So you have a manager who makes his players believe, right? Like, I'm going to put you in this position, and we will make you successful. Right? You have the talent. I believe in you. It's going to happen. That is transformative in of itself. Right. Mm-hmm. And especially when you have somebody who can point and say, look at what I did for this guy over here. I'm going to do the same thing for you. That's beautiful. I think another thing was, and we should probably talk about this as well, is that there were concerns amongst the fan base. I know for me, because I don't like putting the fan base thing out there and hiding behind it. I was concerned that Garth would be one of these, Garth and Chris Henderson, whoever he brought in, it's Chris Henderson, but okay, that they would say, we don't have to do things as big budget, as we're gonna take the safe road on things. Miranchuk for me was not a safe road hire, right? Agreed. That was like, okay, all right, cool. they had this season ticket holder thing, because I am, for those who are brand new to this thing, I am a season ticket holder. So I will do the Mike Bell thing and say, as a season ticket holder,
Saint Nick is not a capital J journo. No.
No, I'm not. But what I will say is that they had this email that got sent out that said, ask Garth a question and he'll answer the question. I don't ever recall if they did that thing where they had the questions answered.
They did. I know Mike was involved in that.
Okay. Well, my question was, Garth, give me the elevator pitch as to why I need to believe in this team going forward. Give me the elevator pitch, because if we're going to be some mediocre team that's going to be budget based, I'm going to have a problem with that, because that's not what I bought into in the beginning. That wasn't the initial sales pitch. So if this is the road we're walking now, where you went out and you got a manager who has the ability to develop players, to turn them into winners, that has won silverware in this league, including the biggest prize. You already got Miranchuk, and now you're talking about going out and getting some other big name players. Okay, there's your elevator pitch right there. Proof's in the pudding. We're making the moves. We're doing things. So the 9 to me is the one move where I think you might need to go a touch budget on that one and look maybe at more raw skills.
You could.
That can be polished. But to Jarrett's point, if you go get Miggy, there's a lot of PR points in that one where you can do a lot of good very quickly. And I will take 2025 experienced veteran Miggy on a 1 or 2 year deal to really punch, because you saw what a shell of a team did when they had belief under Rob Valentino, what they were able to do, right? Which is crawl from the mud and sort of do fast track evolution into a playoff team. It didn't end how you wanted it to end, but you could see with some upgrades what this team could be. So, I think there's a lot of positives here.
Yeah. I mean, to go even to like Abby's point here, like Chris Henderson, he won't play it safe, but here's the thing. He's not going to play it safe, but he's going to do it in a smart way. He's not just going to go all crazy and be like, I want this player, that player, that player. He's very, very calculated in what he wants. And I think we already have seen that within the last couple of days of him being here. And we saw it with Miami. This man single-handedly fixed their entire roster violation issue. And when it was absolutely nuts, he was able to fix it in a smart way. And it was able to make them roster compliant with the league. I think
he made the playoffs in his first year,
exactly,
dealing with all of those roster things. I think when you look at it, and maybe Phil Neville didn't get enough credit for this, and I don't think Chris Henderson got enough credit for it, to have all those issues, have to sacrifice Lewis Morgan and bring in a lot of allocation money to really fix the cap issue that you had, and still make the playoffs. That says a lot about his evaluation of talent.
So I think when you do that, when you are looking at these decisions, I have a lot of faith in Chris Henderson as well as Garth, especially they've worked together very, very well. I think from just that press conference, they balance each other out in a way that is really important. I think if you have one person that is very much like, I'm going to do it this way, and then another one that's very different, that can cause some issues. Ropes is right. Roster compliant. Listen. Anyway, continuing on. I will hold my comments. We'll keep going. But
I think they are roster compliant on paper with what's been presented to the office. Where they were not before was they didn't present everything on paper, and that was before Chris Henderson. So understand that was definitely before. And you can finesse things, and every club does.
But I think like when you're going in and making decisions, that's the one thing I don't want to have happen. I like that maybe you're kind of having these DP conversations. You have a head coach. You got a GM now. You got that part done. Wait till 2025. Wait till things start to going. That's when obviously we're going to get the rumor mill. That's when things are going to start popping up, everything like that. But I personally want to see them take a little bit of time. I don't want them to force a decision that you're end up going to get trapped with. I mean, Yorgos Giacomakis was a great signing at the time. He only stayed for a year. Am I right?
Yeah, year and a half.
And I mean, like, you want a player, especially a number 9 up top, who's going to stay for a hot minute. And that's what I want to see. I want to see someone up there who's going to stay for a little bit longer than that, because I feel like you want something that's consistent. But whether the DP situation, no matter what, I want them to take their time with it. I don't want them to just rush into a decision just because, hey, we need a DP, let's do it.
Well, Yorgos was injured for about 16 months out of the year and a half he was here.
That's also true. Well,
that might be why I think it's a little bit shorter than it was. Maybe
12 of the 18 months. Maybe. Yeah, there were some really good things in his time for sure, but yeah, it didn't always smell like flowers, unfortunately. I think I almost split the two designated player spots in terms of that approach that Maddie just talked about. I think you do have to go get a 9 now. I think you need a 9 as early in preseason as possible. Yeah, and if you got to spend, you got to spend. I'm with you in terms of what Nick said about the number 9. You might not have to. You need to get the right number 9 for this team to win games, period, and score goals. I don't think, and Christopher Abel said, I'll come back to Parzival's comment, 30-plus goals, you're talking about a unicorn in that situation. I don't think that's a fair expectation to set for somebody. I think you want to be in the 20-goal range. I think that's what you're hoping for. 15-plus, I'm happy. Tati Castellano scored 23 in 2021. If you can get that kind of production out of your number 9, I'm absolutely jumping up and down, ecstatic. I want somebody who can score 15-plus because I think you're going to get other guys in this team that score more goals. I think Saba is a 10-10 kind of guy. I think Moranchuk has goals in him. Maybe not 10, but maybe more than 5. I think Sleesh has more goals in him. I think Fortune's got more goals in him. I think you're going to get the goals out of your defenders. Your set pieces are going to be better. 15-plus is a fair expectation for a high-quality striker in this league for the amount of money that you can spend. You've got to get that player in as early as possible. And if that's a high-dollar player, if that's more of a mid-dollar player, and when I say mid, I'm talking like 5 to 10 million in terms of bringing them in. If you're going to go 20 on your striker, great if you get the right guy. I don't care about the price tag. I care about the guy being the right fit and being productive. The other signing in terms of being patient, I think, one, you have to be impatient in getting a 9. You have to get somebody. You have to get somebody who can lead this team straight away as early as possible in January. The other designated player signing, I think Pars has a good point here. Garth has done a lot in summer windows. I think the league's in a different place now, so I don't want to get too hung up on his history. I think Seattle was a different place as well in terms of how much they would spend, so that might have lent themselves more to being a summer guy. I don't think you have to be, but I think with the team that you have now, you don't have to force the second designated player spot quickly. You have to force the 9. You don't have to force the other one as much. So maybe you can look a little bit more. I don't think defensive midfielder. I think you're good there with what you have. Left wing potentially, depending on what you do. I know, Maddie, you have to take off here in just a second. Final thoughts from you in whatever capacity you want to give them before you take off.
Ooh, I'm excited. I'm excited for 2025. I'm excited to see how the pieces are going to fall together. I'm really excited for Dyla. I really am. I really enjoyed the press conference today and getting the chance to hear from him. He gave a little bit of like I was like, I came out of it. I was like, ooh, yeah. I was like, I'm fired up. I'm ready to go. Like, it got me excited for 2025. I'm excited to see where things start to fill in and where we start to see some of the moving pieces into it. I'm really excited to see a little bit more of that movement with Chris Henderson being there and kind of figuring out a bit more of where this team is going to align. I know we didn't touch on it too much. We got down a rabbit train. Listen, as a Newcastle fan, I would love for Miguel Almiron to come back and play. I'd be like, yes, Newcastle, me. And Atlanta United. It'd be a lot of fun. I mean, obviously for that reason, but also too, again, my Newcastle, I'm like, yes, let's go.
Could be good business for Newcastle.
It really could. Really could.
Yeah.
But I also too, I do want to go back to Will Riley getting knocked into being that homegrown deal. You had that signing, you got Click too. I think you're seeing a lot of fun stuff. I'm really excited to see where everything all plays out. So, but yeah, this was fun. It was a great time.
It's
A
been
little SDH after dark, kind of.
kind of after dark. Is it kind? I think it's still sort of not quite dark. But
Like
maybe a little.
SDH Twilight Zone.
Twilight,
Yes,
SDH
Twilight
Twilight, which
Zone.
is frightening, and there were no vampires involved in this one, thankfully.
No glittery vampires. That's Cole in hands.
Yeah, you don't want
Thank
that. Just
goodness.
coal in hands. Thank you, Maddie. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye, y'all.
Maddie
Later.
waves goodbye. Nick and I will take it up to 5:30. 15 more minutes.
15 more minutes.
90-minute show. That's pretty good, I think. Let's see here. Christopher Abel says, "What do you think we do with the U22 initiative spots?" It's a good one. I think those are secondary in a way. I think with where this team is right now, you're not necessarily looking for starters out of your U22 initiative spots. Like, again, we kind of went through the team. I think we know basically, like, if you had to play a game that mattered, if you were in CONCACAF, for example, and you had a game in January and you don't get the signings done in that time, I think we know what the lineup would look like today. I think we have a pretty good grasp on it, and I think it's okay. So I don't think you have to go get a U22 initiative spot for a starter. Maybe there's a project. Maybe there's a guy that you think can come in, spend some time with the twos, and develop into somebody. Maybe somebody that you take a little bit of a risk on. I thought maybe Jay Fortune would sign an upgraded deal that would fall into the U22 initiative spot. Noah Cobb could potentially do that. I do think with what Garth has said and what Chris Henderson has said, although I think Chris is maybe a little more open to being a bit more ambitious with the U22 initiative spots, I don't think you're looking at them as some other clubs would, where you're going to get a young player that you're going to throw into a starting spot and hope that they hit the ground running, which we've seen work and we've seen not work. I think in Atlanta's case, you're looking at that to keep homegrowns around. Like Caleb Wiley, I think, would have signed a U22 initiative spot contract if the deal hadn't come for him to go to Europe when he did. I think Fortune, Cobb are the next two that might fall into that kind of an opportunity. And then there's always the possibility of, look, a scout finds a gym that needs some polishing and you can be patient with, and you take that flyer on it. So that's where my gut feeling is on the U22 initiative spots.
I think it's an opportunity for you to, if you want to go and play, Vulture Club, and there have been a lot of champions made via, attacking the contracts of clubs that are in financial trouble.
Mm-hmm.
You can look at City B and look at Luca Moro, a kid who was on the rise when he was with Catania and has since sort of lost some footing, and he's been bounced around. Big body, 6'2" striker. He's currently toiling away in City B. That's somebody who you can go look at and target for a 9 spot and maybe see as a reclamation project. You could probably get him, probably wouldn't even have to use a DP spot to get him.
I didn't think this was going to be soccer over there ropes, but Nick just turned it into soccer over there for a second.
We just turned it in. How about that? I think that, for a U22 spot, look at a country like Morocco, where you have these leagues that are getting flush with cash, but from a top-down perspective, where the king is throwing money at that league, to invest in talent. There will be a glut of talent. There will be glass ceilings that some of these younger players can't overcome. And say, you go to them and say, look, we can take this kid for a year or two and play him, and they can return to you. You can do it loan. You can do it however you want.
You can do a buyback option kind of deal.
Right. Absolutely.
Lots of different ways to do it.
Argentina, we've seen it with Argentina, Colombia, the same thing. Use those U22 assets, if you want to be ambitious, or use them on the players you have, keep them around, let them grow and develop here. There is nothing wrong with that as well. It's not as sexy. It's not as exciting. It doesn't. We're not SEC recruiting the plane tracking and all that.
We need to be though. That's fun.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun when that happens. But nobody's tracking Jay Fortune's. Jay Fortune is driving down 75 now. Where's he heading to? It's not as nearly as fun.
That would be chaos. I mean, were you on the soccer over there when we were following Messi's plane? I think going to Paris, leaving Barcelona.
We were,
that
absolutely.
was nuts.
I was on that.
That was absolutely nuts.
I mean, we were like wondering how much cash, like how much loaded down the plane was with
Where is he
money.
going? Where is it coming? It's going back to Barcelona. Oh my God.
It's changing direction. So I mean,
we need to bring soccer over there back in some form or fashion. Okay, we've got lots of odds and ends to tie up here. Christopher Abel, when I say ambitious, let me be clear in the way that I'm defining it in the sense. I don't think you have to be ambitious in terms of starting 30 games for your team right now. Like right now. I think the spots are very cap friendly. Yeah, you want to get the best possible U22 spot. But as we always talk about, you're not going to have a squad of 25 starters because then you're going to have, let me do math real quick, 14 guys that are pissed off every week. And that can create a problem. You need some guys that are pushing to be starters. You almost need those tiers of starters, guys who are almost starters and getting starts, guys who understand they are going to be more role player situations. So you got to manage that. I think in this case, when I say ambitious, I'm saying I don't need to go get a U22, a 20-year-old signing that I'm going to ask him to play 30 games and be the one who puts me over the top to win a title.
And let's be
That's where I'm
clear. Let's be clear. The Julian Gressel situation of 2018, 2019, that's the situation you want as a club, where you have a player who is like,
massively over contributing their cap hit.
Yes. You want a player who, toward the end of their contract, is enraged and infuriated that they're making the money they're making because they want to make more because their production rates it. That is something that happens whenever you have players who are undervalued or grow and they end up moving forward in their career and progressing in their career. That's what you want. I have no problem with the glut of talent on a team when people fighting for time and demanding more playing time or send me out. Yeah, man, give me that problem, because there are a lot of teams
to a point. To a point.
To a point. Yeah. But there comes a point as well that when, mid-season tournaments come along and, these other schedule compressions, you can start playing and, play these guys and you're still competitive.
In a cap league, it changes the paradigm a little bit. Like, I think we've seen it at times in some of the Galacticos kinds of teams where they sign anybody who they can possibly sign, and then they have too many guys to actually have a regular starting lineup, and then guys get pissed off. You're not going to have that in the U22 spots. You probably shouldn't have those guys, but we know how agents can be. We know how things can happen. I think the U22 spots are going to be more to supplement and be for the future and to keep homegrowns, I think, around longer. D. Graham points out that Jay's birthday does fall right here at the end of the year. So he would be close to signing it. I'm not being eligible for a U22. I'd have to go back and look at the rule. I do think if you're 22 when you sign that deal, you are still technically in that category. I know it should be U23 then, but welcome to MLS. I can't keep up with all the changes that have happened. If I was making that signing, I would have to sit down and look at the rule book beforehand.
Legal scholars would have to look at subsection C, Article 12.
I need to find that little parallel that's in the back, that's in the bibliography of somebody saying, like, you could do this and you could find a way to do it, and who knows.
Can we feed the contract into Chat GPT and see if we can get some sort of AI breakdown? Would it break the AI is the question.
The MLS rule book would absolutely break the AI.
That's how we get Skynet. That, like, AI decides humans are too stupid for doing this.
What is this league we have to eradicate? Jeez. I don't want that to happen, so don't ask the AI to explain the MLS roster rules to you, please. D. Graham points out as the question about loaned players still on the books and what that means. The books will almost essentially reset on January 1st. Franco Ibarra, he will not be under contract to Atlanta United on January 1st, so he will be available to sign wherever he wants to sign, so you don't have to worry about that. In terms of the cap, you're not getting any kind of a transfer fee for him like you did for Santiago Sosa. I wondered if that would possibly fall for him. It looks like Ibarra will be at Rosario Central for quite a while. Did very well there. Always going to be one of my favorite guys for Atlanta United. Just a scrappy central midfielder who I thought was very good with the group and playing a variety of roles. I hope, upgraded across the board in that position. But Ibarra will not net you anything because you declined that option. They picked up the option on Sosa because you had the deal in place for him. I don't know if it was triggered. I don't know if they were just going to do it. I don't. Again, lots of confusion and always lots of potential misinformation because of the confusion and because of the lack of understanding of the MLS roster rules. Always take that stuff with a little bit of a grain of salt. I think the club is going to maximize every opportunity they can to bring money in these deals. And if there was money on the table for Ibarra, they would have done it. They would have picked up an option. They would have done whatever. For Sosa, I think it's fair to expect that they did the right things to maximize the money that they could bring in for him, which they did. And that's, look, that falls into that huge glut of GAM that this club has right now, more than any other team in the league. The Caleb Wiley transfer, maybe the Sosa one impacts it as well. You got a lot of general allocation money to go on top of a lot of cash, straight cash, homie. You got a lot of that too to spend. This roster will be better when preseason opens, I would assume, than it is today. And it will definitely be better by opening day, which is late in February against Montreal at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, than it is today. And I think the moves today have started to point you in that direction. Lots of excitement with Ronnie Dyla, with Mateusz Klich, with Will Riley on lots of different levels about Atlanta United going into 2025.
You're in a situation now where a lot of the contracts that you were forced to write between COVID and the massive injury asteroid that hit this team, post COVID, a lot of those contracts, you are completely out from under them now. So you have a lot of opportunity where you have Supreme Garber bucks available to you. You have a manager, a proven manager who's a motivator. And look, let's be honest. Atlanta is, and people get so mad at me when I say this, Atlanta is LA East. We want big personalities. We want big style. We want people who get fired up and energized and can energize this a city that wants the sizzle and the steak. And
I think that's first off, I feel like we need to have a 2-hour show about that topic because I think it's interesting. But I'll say, in general, I totally agree. However, I think the difference is Atlanta can be sold on a level of excitement about a lesser name a lot easier than LA or Miami is. I think LA or Miami, you better have a stack of papers on a resume to back it up or
Correct.
clippings or whatever. Here, as you saw with Joseph Martinez, with Miguel Almiron, people will get excited and then it'll have the LA effect. I don't think you have to, for example, like in LA, you have to sign a guy like Marco Royce. You have to sign a guy like Olivier Giroud.
Yes.
You don't have to sign an Olivier Giroud here to be that number 9.
Mm-mm.
You have to sign somebody who's good and then can be sold on that idea to the fan base.
Yes. And I think that goes back to the nature of Southern hip hop in general, which is we are always looking for the new thing. LA's looking for established things. Miami's looking for established things. Atlanta is looking for new things, but we want that new thing to pop. And I think that's why we are a bit more accepting of here's this completely unknown quantity, but it's showing out. Okay, beautiful. Push it, quick push to the top. And I think that's the beauty of Atlanta. And that's one of the things that when I do say it's LA East, I think that is a point where it's, we are looking for the new hot, energizing thing.
The new hotness.
And, I feel like we have that now. Look, all the managers that came before, probably had great qualities in their own unique, awesome ways. But how many of them were rah-rah in your face Ronnie roars?
Yeah. I think it's no, I don't like Tata wasn't that guy really. Frank definitely wasn't that guy.
Yeah. Atlanta changed Tata's image, his public image to be that dude. Like they sort of invented a Tata character.
Yeah. Heinze had elements of it, but we didn't really see it because the results weren't there.
Yep.
Gonzalo had moments of it. I don't think, we didn't really know what his coaching personality would be, and he walked in the door. there were times where it came out. Some of those pictures, it was a Gonzalo kind of roar, which was funny. But the Ronnie roar is a thing. Like he has a charisma about him that I think is going to be very contagious for the city, for the fan base, for the squad. I think for the club as a whole.
Yeah. And Parzival really nailed it here. Atlanta also is in a city like New York, LA, Miami, that the MLS pundits are always talking about to the point of being annoying. They talk about us always in a downward note, right? Like something
Yeah.
with Atlanta, the wheels are always
They
going to
love
fall.
to get excited about that downward note when it comes to Atlanta.
They do. And here's the thing is that I love the fact that Atlanta has a manager now who is sort of this charismatic individual where if we can be the four horsemen, if we can be the limousine riding, jet flying, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing, sons of guns, and if we can be that and make everybody hate us and at the same time walk that aisle wearing that robe looking only as we can look, I have zero problems with that. If Apple sets up every commercial where it is Lionel Messi infuriated, screaming at five stripe players, and we're still walking out with the dub, I've got no problems with it.
Give me every commercial of Brad Gazan Spider-Manning out of the net yelling at Luis Suarez. Please give me that in every MLS promo in 2025.
Every promo.
Every single one.
I mean, I have no problem with being the villains. So let's do it. Let's do the heel run. It's time, baby. It's time to put the trombones down. It's time to put the positivity pancakes down.
Wow. New Day references.
It is time to go straight heel run. NWO, let's do it.
It's going to be a fun 2025. Who knows what else we get between now and then in the Atlanta United universe. There is the possibility of more for sure. There will be rumors, and as we always say, check your sources. Understand that agents will plant things in the media. Understand that some media members will share things that are maybe not as solid as others. I'm talking much more on the international side of things. Understand each nation has different characters of how media handles these kinds of things. As we're learning with some of the new European countries that are into the mix with Atlanta United, I think we got a pretty good grasp on the Argentine media outlets over the years. Look, you're going to have a lot of talk. You're going to have a lot of things. And then sometimes you're not going to have a whole lot of talk. Like Ronnie Dyla, there wasn't a whole lot of talk. It pops up, it happens, and I think it's a really exciting day for Atlanta United. We will keep you up to date between now and the start of training camp, which is like 3 weeks away.
Good Lord.
We're trying to wrap up, and then this happens.
So did I miss anything?
Are you serious, John?
Did I miss anything?
No. Go back to sleep or whatever you're doing.
Hour and 22 minutes in an Uber to go 15 miles from downtown Chicago to O'Hare.
Yeah, what was that right. Uber? What was that tab?
$11 gazillion.
All right.
We try to get out the door, and then John shows up.
Okay, well, like I said, I'm heading home. It'll be good to be home, and I know that no news broke, so it'll be good to see everybody.
Yeah, sure. Totally.
John, just travel safe, man. Avoid the nincompoops in the security lines.
That already happened also, by the way.
Are you at your gate?
Yes, I'm at the gate, yes.
Is your flight on time?
Allegedly.
All right. Okay. How many idiots forgot to take out the laptops out of their bags and left their shoes on right up at the conveyor belt?
Did they make you have to do that? Because it depends on the airport. Sometimes they don't even make you do that anymore. It feels
no,
like everyone's
O'Hare, O'Hare just had nincompoops. We didn't have to take stuff out of our bags or anything. So now it was just straight at nincompoopery.
All right.
Did you have to go speak to a TSA representative for something you had in your bag?
No, I did not. And I had my audio gear with me, I had my studio gear with me, and I had my computer with me and my tablet with me, and I just got through.
I figured you would have had like a beverage of some sort in there or something, and they would have
actually, I had an empty can of Celsius in my jacket, and that kept setting it off.
So you did set it off. You had an empty can of Celsius in your jacket. First off,
I was trying to remember to throw it away, And in the rush to get to the line, it was still in my pocket, in my jacket pocket.
John is always the gift that keeps on giving. I did not expect to get this gem of gold here at the end, but we get John going through the TSA line,
Oh my God.
forgetting to take an empty can of Celsius out of his jacket and
That is
having to
correct.
go back through the line again.
Yeah.
How many times did it take you to figure out that you had an empty can of Celsius in your jacket?
4.
4 times?
Because I thought it was like my belt that was setting it off, or the phone, or
So
whatever.
you were a nincompoop.
No, I was just an idiot. There's a difference.
There's a difference?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Nincompoops, I think, are intentional. Idiots are unintentional.
I don't know.
I'll defer to the two of you when it comes to splitting the hairs of the definition, but
Oh my
Wow.
God.
I thought we were done, Nick. I thought it was just going to be like, hey, John,
Nope.
what's up? We're leaving. Oh. Good grief.
Oh my God. Oh, it's
Good
glorious. This is everything I wanted and more. This is everything I
says
wanted.
Saint Nick.
Oh.
I did not see this coming. 4 times he went through the TSA line
Yep.
with an empty can of Celsius, and he did not know why it kept going off.
Nope, did not.
After you thought it was your belt, what did you think it was the second time?
The belt.
God.
Again?
Yeah, I thought it was the belt, thought it was a pen, thought it was my wallet, thought it was my phone.
Did you take stuff out
Oh my
each
God.
time and then like
One thing
process
out
of
one thing out
elimination?
each time, yes.
What did you take the first time?
First time was the wallet.
You took the wallet. Oh, they let you go through the wallet. You didn't even have to take that out. Because, okay.
Yeah.
So first you think it's the wallet that's setting
Oh
it off.
my God.
Mhm.
Okay. Then it goes off again. What'd you take out the second time?
Phone.
You thought it was the phone the second time. Even though everybody else went through with wallets and phones. Okay.
Yeah, everybody else is still going. So it was wallet, then it was phone, then it was belt, and then I had the realization, okay, there's something. Because I'm reaching through all the pockets in my jacket, and then I'm like, what the hell is that? Oh, that's what it is. And then you get the
my
can. It's like,
God.
oh, that's what it is. And then, yeah.
John is
first-
this poor security system is
Oh.
probably like thinking that John's trying to walk through with the Voyager 1 spacecraft attached to his belt. And he's
Either that or a can of Chernobyl, Nick.
oh my
This is
God.
why jackets are supposed to come off going through security, Abby. What I've learned in my travels in this past year is that every airport security is completely different
Yep.
about what you have to do, what you don't have to do. So I'm
Absolutely.
always like anxious going into it. Like, okay, what am I going to have to do? Am I doing the right thing? Are they going to yell at me? All right, let me pay attention.
No,
And
TSA hates me, man. I have to get borderline strip search when I walk through. So I got to make sure I have everything. The minute I walk into the airport, shoes are untied.
I'm always
belt,
thinking, Ed,
wallet.
like, can I?
Yeah, I'm always wearing my loafers.
Wear
Yeah.
a belt going through. Can I put the belt on afterwards? I don't want to have any issues. Like, what
Yeah.
can I do here to make this simpler?
But John's over here
Yeah.
smuggling Celsius cans.
Empty Celsius cans.
Empty,
Not
it's an
even
empty
like
Celsius.
trying to buy a drink and take it in, which people will do, and then be like, "Oh man, you caught me here. Yeah, it's fine. Take the drink. I'll go pay another $5 for a Celsius at the airport." No, you had an
Basically.
empty can of Celsius that you had in
Yeah.
your jacket pocket.
Well, I had an
Liquid
hour and 22
amphetamines.
minutes to kill in an Uber.
Do they not have trash cans at the airport in O'Hare?
Not
They had
in,
no
not
trash
in,
cans
not
at
in
the security
terminal,
line?
not in Terminal 5
They have
at O'Hare, checking a bag in and going through the TSA pre-clear.
no trash
Up until
cans
the point,
anywhere.
nope. Not until you got to the, not until you got to the metal detector did they have anything in Terminal 5.
And
So you
it took four
Had the can.
four
It took
loops.
4 times. Oh, maybe it's my wallet with something metal in it. Maybe
Oh
it's
my
my
God.
phone because it hates Android phones in this security line. Maybe it's my belt. Really?
This
Yeah.
is the magical mystery tour of airport security. This is fantastic.
The gift that
Mhm.
keeps on giving, John Nelson.
This is it.
Christopher
How
Abel
could-
is
how could you
absolutely
not-
correct.
Chris has been bringing so many great points. Up
Chris
today.
has been the MVP today.
Yeah. How do you not notice a can in your jacket, John?
Yeah,
Because
What
we're
kind of
trying
jacket?
to
Explain the
rush to
jacket.
get, we're trying to rush to get through curbside check-in so we can actually check in and come home.
Right.
Kind of had a little different set of priorities.
it's this thing where like I often wonder if it's a bit I really do. I wonder at times if this is like a complete bit that was thought out and
Like-
made up, but it
like
happens
Norm
so many
Macdonald.
times that it's not a bit. It just
Oh
happens
my
with John.
God.
Yeah,
Okay,
it does.
so okay, you are known for sometimes wearing very nice, may I say, loafers. Okay, like you
Yeah,
will
that
spring
is a
for some
John
good
thing.
loafers,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Now, what I need to
Oh,
know
no, here we go. And I don't know if I want to know this answer.
with the jacket, is the jacket a high dollar jacket? Are we
no,
moving in the
Okay,
same
I thought we were going a different direction.
level here? I mean, well, okay, John, I can't. You're in vertical.
It
mean,
wasn't the usual jacket. I will
yeah,
say
what kind of
that.
jacket is this? Is this like a
What is
cashmere
this?
jacket? Is this?
Yeah,
I mean, like,
it's a cashmere overcoat.
Are you being fancy?
the cashmere. See, okay,
When it's 20 degrees outside, you have to wear layers. There's something wrong.
All right, fair enough.
a cashmere overcoat, and you didn't know that there was a can of Celsius in there.
Nope.
I mean, yes, Chris, again,
Nope.
bringing facts.
No. You think as you're moving around, your arm would hit the bulge in your coat pocket and go, oh, I should take the empty can out? Nope, never hit it.
Wow.
Because it was in my right side pocket. It was right side pocket here. And I'm left-handed, so everything is I'm traditionally having everything on the left side because I'm left-handed. No, it was on the right-hand side because I was trying to get it out of the way.
And I love the acting out and reenacting the whole moment of John trying to figure out.
Can
why
you
he's
put a
setting
lower
up.
third and you have reenactment underneath?
Now, Jason, I
Yes.
will have to talk about John's parking from the right-hand side. Like if he's turning right into parking spaces.
You have news to bring to the floor, Nick.
There's some challenges. There's some challenges parking with turning to the right.
Challenges turning to the right.
So if you're turning right into a parking space,
yes,
there's some challenges there because
I mean I kind of get it. Like, I don't know the degree of the challenges.
is the left. I'm wondering though, is it left hand? Because I don't know. I drive with my left hand. I don't have any challenges parking either way.
I know I am very heavily right eye dominant. So
Okay.
like we had the conversation about was it Tim Weah with the national team about him
Yes.
being dominant one eye or the other? Like,
Yes.
I am heavily right eye dominant, and I learned the medical term for it recently because Chelsea's female goalkeeper had the same thing, and she had a surgery to correct it. I didn't know I had it. I didn't know what it was called until like about a year ago. So I have decent peripheral vision to the left, but really good to the right. So I am, for whatever reason, much more comfortable turning into one side than the other. I can do it and not hit something and be to the point that people are going to talk about my parking challenges. But I do understand that maybe one way I'm a little more focused than the other way where it feels natural.
I will say this. John has the greatest luck I have ever seen
Oh, God.
of anyone when it comes to rental cars. By far. I mean, like he picked up this, like he said, we landed at the airport in Orlando. He says, all right, guys, I got the cheapest option available. And I'm thinking we're getting like, like the Ford Festiva with the wheelbarrow wheel like bolted onto the back, right?
Getting the one that he got in Fort Lauderdale with what's like missing seats in the middle or something.
But this one, he ended up with like it was a Dodge, was it the Charger?
Yeah, it's Dodge Charger. Yeah, souped up.
We got the Dodge Charger with like the V8. So like this raw American steel racing out of MCO.
You didn't hit anything with the Dodge Charger, did you?
Not that I can recall.
No, remember, Nick. Remember when we went through the first toll gate?
Oh yeah. You almost cleared about 9 of the road dividers on that one. That was almost a thing.
Yeah.
Right,
that was almost a thing.
Anytime John's on a trip and I can take an Uber, I should take one. That's what I've learned.
The Geo Metro, yes, Abster. The Geo Metro, yes. Man, so
I wanted a Geo Metro so bad.
But here's the thing, John. I approve of your cashmere coat.
Yes,
I approve of the cashmere coat. I am a huge fan of cashmere. I have not done the alpaca degram, but I will say that
I'm intrigued, but I do not have an experience with the alpaca.
Yeah, I do wonder because it is a material that is not heavy and thick like wool. I was the can of Celsius crushed, or was it still in its full cylindrical shape?
Was it
Oh no,
squeezed?
it was a tall boy that was still in its full cylinder.
A tall boy.
So you didn't squeeze it like that. Okay.
No.
It was just purely like straight up.
Yeah, straight up
Amazing.
tall boy.
Amazing.
And you didn't notice it.
That is
Nope.
significant pocket space on that
That's
coat. Significant.
amazing. Yeah,
Yep.
that part is true. So that's a good coat. Maybe not a good user of the coat in terms of going to TS.
I would have questions about the Celsius spilling on
This
the
is also
cashmere
true. That
coat.
is a very
No, it
good
was
point.
empty. No, I mean it was an empty can.
But yeah, there's always a drop or two. You know that.
And the moral of the story, I will stipulate to the moral of the story, but when you're in a rush trying to make sure you can check in a bag, things kind of go by the wayside.
Okay, John, how much time did you leave getting to the airport? That's
Good
the
question.
Nick Leafy question.
For a 5:25 boarding local time,
Yeah, 6:25.
we left 2 hours ago.
Well,
It took us an hour and 22 minutes to get from State Street, basically Soldier Field, to O'Hare. An hour and 22 minutes.
Sir, you left your the place you were staying only 2 hours before your flight.
No, 2 hours before.
2.5, it looks like.
2:45 to 5:25, so 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Yeah, okay. A little more than 2.5. Were you checking bags?
One.
Hey,
Cut it a little close.
Brave.
We are aware.
Yeah, if I wasn't checking a bag, I'm in an airport I know. Like if I'm in Atlanta and I'm flying at that time, because I used to actually work at the airport. I used to run Altitunes back when we had these things called music stores and sold these things called CDs. I used to run that. So I worked in the airport. So I got to know like when it's busy, when it's not busy, when you can get through TSA quickly, when you can't. Those sorts of things. So I have an understanding here. In an unfamiliar airport, even not checking a bag, and knowing Chicago traffic.
Yes.
That's gutsy, John.
The Alifi method is to be at the airport 2 hours prior to the flight, minimum.
Prior to the flight or prior to the boarding?
Prior to boarding.
Prior to boarding.
2 hours prior to boarding.
I am in Atlanta certain times of day. I can be an hour before boarding. I can arrive inside the airport, not arrive at parking, not anything like that, but arrive inside at the TSA line an hour before certain times a day in Atlanta. Anywhere else, yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah. And especially this close to a holiday, you have to treat it like international flight.
Yeah. John, you got lucky. And then you almost didn't get lucky because you had a Celsius can in your pocket.
Right.
So stipulated.
The gift that keeps on giving, which is John Nelson.
Okay, John, high school football's done. You're done with high school football now.
Yep.
All right, all's done. All right.
Yep. What is the schedule next week on the Soccer Down Here Network, John Nelson?
Well, whenever we are stationary at 9:05 Eastern time, we'll be discussing things. I know that Monday will be normal because it'll be in the Eastern time zone.
So Monday. Oh, so you're going to be moving time zones again.
Yeah, Tuesday will be in South Alabama hanging out with the mother-in-law. So
it will be a Tuesday.
Yeah, so when's Christmas? Thursday? That's where my schedule is, man. I don't have a schedule in front of me. When I look at a calendar, I'll know. So
Nick,
everything up through the 24th is normal. No show Christmas Day, probably a power hour on Boxing Day.
That would be Wednesday, and then Thursday would be power hour Boxing Day, and maybe that's a later in the day sort of thing.
Maybe, depends, and then normal on Friday.
Are you back in the Eastern time zone on Thursday?
Probably.
Maybe
that's up to the boss.
Okay, but you are on Friday, possibly.
Probably, once again up to the boss.
Who knows where you're going to be? So I think it is fair to tell the 100 people who are still watching this, and you guys are all sickos in the best of ways.
Yes. And we love you
Because
all.
the audience stayed with John telling stories about Celsius cans in his pocket.
Abby is saying that even the Jewish person knows that Christmas is Wednesday.
Yes, I was just gonna leave it.
Abby's that far
I'm
ahead
not
of me.
leaving it. I'm putting that right.
I was trying to just leave it, and no, it's there.
Mm-mm.
So Monday morning at 9:05, Tuesday morning at 9:05,
Yep.
Thursday at some time.
Yeah. We'll let you know. Set your notification.
And we will
Valid,
have
valid.
Nino and Nico at some point this week. It might not be Thursday. It won't be in the normal time slot, but it will be sometime this week. They were great
Right.
to come on this week, and
They were great with it. Yeah.
fun catching up with both of them. And then Friday, normal time is fair to
Normal
say.
time. Yeah, fair to say.
So that is your schedule for the SDH Network next week. Thank you guys for hanging out with us for 2 hours and the last 20 minutes of it being absolute pure chaos. But welcome to Soccer Down Here is all I can say.
Yep.
St. Nick, hopefully you don't have to throw hands and coal anymore the rest of your time, but I'm sure you will.
Loading up, baby. Loading up.
Jeez. John, make sure you empty your pockets before you go through TSA again.
They're empty. We're about to board. So
safe travels, my man. Safe travels.
Be good, be safe, and we'll see you soon, kids.
Be good to the flight attendants, man.
Always.
You guys traveling.
Yes.
Always.
Don't be one of those people. Bye, John.
No, never.
John is gone. Nick is loading up coal in hands. And thank you to Jarrett Smith before he magically disappeared. And thank you to Madison Cruz for spending some time with us. Thank you to all of you who asked questions and were part of the conversation. It's always fun. Y'all have a good weekend. And the SDH Network will be back on Monday. Mucha plata, y'all.